Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to show you how to remove your door on a Honda Civic. And the first thing I recommend you do is you roll the window all the way down on the door you're about ready to take off. You don't have to do that, but especially if you're doing this by yourself, when you roll the window down, it gives you a handle on this door frame here to hold up on the door, so as you're taking it off you can kind of like wrap your arm underneath here and grab onto it. And it's just a lot easier to take off if you have the window down. But if you have someone helping you, holding the back while you're undoing the bolts in the front and everything, it's not that big of a deal. Or if there's a reason you want to leave the window up, again, not that big of a deal. But I do recommend putting it down. It's just going to make it a lot easier. Alright, so now we are looking in the jamb here of the front door. And we have to disconnect a few things before we start taking the bolts out to take the door off. One is we need to disconnect this wire loom. This harness here from the car itself. This harness is going to come off and it's going to go with the door. And then we also need to disconnect this door check, and this is going to stay with the door. We need to take this bolt out to disconnect it. So we're going to start with the wire loom, and we need to pry on the rubber part right here. And I'm just using a plastic pry tool. You can use anything you want, screwdriver. Just be careful though, you can scratch it if you're using a screwdriver. And I'm going to put all the tools that I'm using to do this. I'm going to list all those in the description below. So we're going to start off with the plastic pry tool, and it helps so the door is fully open right here, and it helps you just kind of slightly close a little bit. That'll give you a little bit more room when you go to pop this off. So we're going to pry out on the front, and then we're going to kind of pull, again, close the door as much as you can to get your hand in there, and that will help get this out. And this is pretty tight back in here, so it is a little bit of a pain, but it helps if you just get both hands on it and just kind of wiggle it back and forth and bring it towards you. Now this part's going to be very hard to show just because it's so tight and back behind there, but I'm going to take this wiring harness, disconnect it, and I'm going to do my best to show you guys what I did. And basically you can see there's that white right there. There's two different sets of clips we need to undo. So there's a tab on the bottom, the farthest part away from you on this white one. It's between the two wiring harnesses, so we're going to reach around and push that tab. And while I'm pushing that tab with this other hand, I'm pulling down on the wire loom, and you can see the wires just coming right out. So got that one, and then there is a blue one which you can kind of see there. And again, at the tab to release the blue one, it's going to be on the bottom side, so the farthest away from us. So we're going to have to reach all the way around and press on that tab while pulling down on the harness. And disconnected it there, and you can see the tab right there. So that's the tab I was pushing on right there on the blue one, and then same with the white one right there in the middle. That's the tab I was pushing on. Alright, so they got that disconnected. And now we're going to take this bolt out. And to do that, we're just going to use, I'm going to use a 12mm socket with a 3/8 ratchet and a short extension. And when you do this, you don't want the door to be fully extended. You want to bring it in like one notch. And by notch, I mean when you open the door full, you can feel it stop. And then when you bring it to shut it, you can kind of feel it stop at a certain point. That's where you want to stop. And that'll make sense when we get this bolt off. But basically, so that way we can take this bolt out and then open the door to get these bolts out of the door, and that will give us some room so the check is pulled away from the jamb, so it's not scratching the jamb while we're trying to take the bolts out of the door. And now that we have the check loose, you can see that as we open the door, We got a good view of the door bolts on top here, and same with the ones in the bottom. And as we open it, the check is pulled away from the jamb so we don't scratch it or anything. But now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take out the door bolts and get this door off. So I'm going to start with the bolts on the bottom of the door. Make sure you start on the bottom, and then we'll go to the top next. And to get these out, I'm going to be using a ratcheting 12mm wrench. It doesn't have to be ratcheting, but it's a lot easier if it is ratcheting. We're going to take these ones out. And now before we start taking the top bolts out, this is when I take my arm and I come from the inside and I wrap it kind of around the door frame, and then I hold on to the front of the door. And that's why I put the window down so we can do this. And it gives you a lot of stability when you're holding on to it. And when we're taking these final bolts off, will give you a lot of control to hold on to this door. Again, if you're having someone help you, have them hang on to the back of the door, and then you can just go down and hang on to the front. It is a little bit easier. But yeah, go ahead and wrap your arm around, and then we'll start taking these front bolts out. And then as you feel the door starting to droop, you just want to pick up on it a little bit. That way there's not a whole lot of tension on your bolt. And just keep ratcheting. And then as soon as I feel that bolt give, I go ahead and toss it to the side. And then I grab a hold of the upper frame with both hands and remove it from the car. And that's it, guys. The door is off the car. Thanks for watching.